Just a reminder in case you've forgotten, as we run through the 7 tips to a successful remodel, make sure you have plans, build a budget, and the do-it-yourself pitfalls. And Burton, we bring you in for 7 tips to a successful remodel. What do you have for us? Number 4.
Number 4 is demolition. Of course, we have a lot of folks that say, hey, we'll do our own demolition, and some can do it. Well, it'll get demolished anyway, that's for sure. But, that is as important as the trim work and not creating extra work, not having collateral damage where, the project just keeps growing because the damage keeps growing. So that's a really important part. And what I've done with some customers is I'll go out for an hour if they're just dying to do their own demolition, and I'll give them my tips on how to make sure they do it correctly and where to cut and what to do, maybe what tools to use and where to be careful. Because even on the weekends, in our plumbing company, we'd have folks that did their own. They just run the saw right down the wall and they go right through pipes, right through wire. Not realize, because we do this all the time. We kind of have X-ray vision, and we know how to, do a really shallow plunge cut and not get into what's in there. I've seen, pictures on the other side of the wall go flying off, or a collection of precious moments that land on the ground because, somebody on the other side of the wall. And I'm not saying that we did that.
Right.
That's what those are some of the pitfalls I've seen in demolition.
I was going to say about the lone demolition I'm willing to do is I'll pull the old carpet out. That's about the extent here. Other than that, I'm with you. There's wires in there, there's pipes, and you're the expert, and, go from there.
More dangerously, lead, asbestos, fiberglass insulation, and if you're not, set up to protect yourself or identify what those things are, then you can get yourself in a little trouble there and not even know it.
Not just that. Well, not just that. We're talking about, we talk about the cleanliness. Like Burton goes out and does a job. A lot of these people just start tearing stuff apart and the dust upstairs, and people don't realize what a mess it can make.
Yeah, in the demolition, we'll block off all the heat registers, and we'll shut the AC system off if we need to, just to make sure we're not moving air. We put up what's called zip wall, plastic wall. We create a vacuum on the construction area so that we're pulling clean house air through the construction area instead of going the other way. And we're just constantly working to make sure that we have controlled the dust.
And I just assume that with you, Burton, because of all the great things you do, that you're clean. And I guess you should never assume anything, because as I'm in, and I told the builders I was going to say it, in Paramount, I look at the building sites and there's boards and stuff all over. And then conversely, I'll come by places that are spick and span. What's your model?
Yeah, well, even like if you think about a remodel on a master bathroom, it's usually towards the back of the home. So every item and every worker has to travel from the front door all the way through the home. And, protecting the door jambs, protecting the entrance to the house. And so we put down a rubber-backed cloth-topped drop cloth. They're 4x12, and we put runners down every morning, and we pick them up every night and clean every night. Because if you could imagine, if you were to video this, it would look like ants coming and going, and thousands of trips in and out. And so the carpet gets beat down, it can get dirty. Stuff can get tracked on your feet from if it's a rainy day outside, or if there's some thin set or concrete or mortar inside, somebody gets it on their feet, accidentally tracks it. That's the collateral damage I was talking about. So we just take that extra step, and it is a lot of extra work, and yes, it does cost a little more, but you don't have the expense of collateral damage.
Now, it seems to me that you've told me before you start, you like to identify, okay, there's that fixture, there's those lights, there's those boards. What about delays of materials, which you've got as your one of those, I'll call it a pitfall, but a tip to a successful remodel?
It really is. And if you're counting on stuff to show up somewhere midstream, you're probably already in trouble, because I can tell you it just doesn't always work out that way. So we always make sure our custom cabinetry is done, made, and sitting in our warehouse, and we will frame and build to make sure that it's going to fit instead of doing it the other way around. And so we're never waiting for that stuff. The only thing we really have to wait for is the fabrication of granite, and those guys are the 2 crews we use. They're done in 3 days probably from the time they template to install.
Well, yeah, and he's exactly right. Well, especially with what's going on, just in general with construction around here being so high. We're up 30-40% with new construction from last year, so that's putting pressure on all these vendors. Franklin Building Supply. You talk about all these other companies that are supplying the product, and Burton, as he would say too, you just can't pick up the phone and say I want X and it's going to be there.
A lot of people have downsized, and now that things are starting to crank up again, they're going to make a profit now because they're really lean and mean, and now the volume's going to be there. but we also have to expect some of the mistakes and delays, especially as there's new people and new positions, and they're going to make mistakes. So that's one thing. If we have doors coming in for a project, they're sitting in our warehouse and we know they're there and they're really 30 inches. So we plan ahead.
What do you, Burton, what are you seeing on pricing wise? So you talk about lumber going up, you talk about granite and on these other items you use in a remodel or new construction or whatever. What are we seeing with pricing with these, like Franklin Building Supply?
Sure, I can't put a percentage on it, but I can guarantee you we can feel that it's moving up at a pretty rapid pace. So honestly, if you're thinking about getting some work done, this isn't a sales pitch, it's just a fact of finance. Now is the time to get it done, because I can tell you, if things keep growing like they are, it's going to get more expensive because everybody reduced their prices, and supply and demand. And now the demand is really cranking up. So
and labor too.
Labor too. Yeah, even guys are demanding more. So.
And Burton, maybe this isn't so much anymore, but my neighbor used to put in carpet, and I've got a friend that he was a plumber. What about if I have those guys come over and help me out with that, because I'm going to save money?
I think you just have to use good judgment there, and if it's somebody who has a license in that or is skilled in that trade, sure, nothing wrong with the one-man band. Somebody working out of their garage, they used to, I guess, speak down of that, but there's nothing wrong with that. That's how my dad started. That's how I started. So I just say find somebody who definitely is specialized in that trade.
So how does that tie into number 6 for us?
Sure, choosing the right contractor or tradesman. Really. Don't assume that somebody can just do something because they say they can. Be sure if it's plumbing work, for goodness, hire a plumber. And same thing, for tile setting. You see that on the do-it-yourself shows, and it seems easy, but to do it really well, it needs to be somebody who's been doing it a while, and that's some expensive product too. And once it's down, it's a son of a gun to get back out. So you want to make sure that you've got somebody who really does it and they're not dabbling in it.
Yeah. All right, so we've got 6. We'll just kind of run through them again. We've got plans. Make sure you have plans. Don't just wing it. Budget. You need to know what you're going to spend and how much it's going to cost you. 3 is my favorite, the do-it-yourself pitfalls. Demolition, and that, Burton, that one really jumped out at me because I know a lot of people think they're saving money by doing it themselves. And Chris, as you point out, really you're going to cost yourself some money.
Yeah, and people don't understand. And you go back to the do-it-yourself, and I would just highly recommend, unless you're a highly skilled homeowner, I would highly recommend don't even try to do it yourself. I mean, there is some expense when you start talking to contractors like Burton, but the thing is, what, they're going to do it. They're going to do it fast. They're going to do it clean. They're going to be efficient. And so the things that Burton has to offer, and I want to ask him to stay on for the 4th a little bit because I want to talk about refinancing and how I think it's going to affect Burton's world too, and contractors and people like you and your wife in general, whether it's refinancing or buying a new home. So we'll touch that too.
All right, and then obviously number 5 was the materials and the delays. Don't think it's going to be there. Make sure it shows up before you start. Great contractor. Biggest thing is watch out for the moonlighters and make sure they have a license, they've got insurance, they own what they put in. And then give us number 7, Burton.
Yep, permits, common question. Typically on just redecorating a bathroom or a kitchen, there are not permits required. Each city is a little different, or county in that regard, so it's good to check into that. But if you're not adding square footage and you're not adding new appliances or fixtures or lighting, and everything's staying right where it is, typically no permit required. But as soon as you're doing anything structural, adding square footage, removing walls, changing the size of a window or door opening, or in plumbing, if you're moving a fixture more than 4 feet, that would require a permit. And permits are a good thing, not a bad thing. You've got a third party coming in to make sure that the work was done correctly, and they're there to protect your interest. And if it's required, say taking out a wall or something, and you don't get the permit, there's a chance that they could swing in and have you tear it all apart.
Wow. I think you made a great point when you said permits are a good thing. I think we've always thought in our mind, oh, man, I got to get a permit and I've got to go through the red tape. It's actually done to protect the homeowner, right?
Right, it is. It is. So, just ask your contractor about that and how they feel about it. It'll give you a pretty good idea of where they're coming from.
Yeah, and the good thing is with your expertise, something about 30 years, you can look at it and say, yes, we need a permit. No, we don't. I mean, you're not going to fudge on the lines. You're going to say, no, you don't need one, or yes, we're going to get this.
Absolutely.
All right. If you want to get the 7 tips to a successful remodel, it's Burton's, Burtons, burtonsremodel.com, or we'd encourage you to call at 447-8651, 447-8651. We'll take a time out. Chris, when we come back, what do we got lined up for segment 4 with Burton and some things you want to wrap up the program with?
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about lending. We don't talk about it that much because I'm not a lender, of course, but I do have quite a few lenders that we do work with, and I want to chat a little bit about where I kind of think that things are going and how lending is truly affecting my world, Burton's world, your world, for anybody who's out there who could be buying or selling a house. But we'll just touch base on kind of what's going on with the rates and how I think they're going to affect the market in general.
And don't forget, if you want to look at Chris's website, it's Chris, C-H-R-I-S, Lofthus, L-O-F-T-H-U-S, chrislofthus.com. And as always, we say like us on Facebook. You can take the virtual tour listings. You can listen to the show as well on the Chris Lofthus YouTube channel. You got everything there. I mean, you're the media mogul, if you will. We'll continue on with the program. It is the Real Estate Radio Show featuring Chris Lofthus of the Chris Lofthus Group at Keller Williams Realty of Boise right after this.